Hey y'all, welcome to the Clock Tower. I'm Colton here with Brandon. 5 cards, 5 minutes. Lycoris, Recoil, Uncommons, and Commons. Brandon, what's our first card?
First up, we have the Chisato Brainstormer. For the Brainstorm ability, it's a pay one, rest self, and then for every climax revealed, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and add one to hand, discard the rest. So that kind of top check 3, add one Brainstormer with a second ability, which I think is the fun part that brings us into the 5 cards, 5 minutes. That whenever you trigger a salvage, your opponent then has to mill 4 cards. Every time.
Yeah, we like to try to feature weird cards on this show whenever we get the opportunity, and this card is definitely weird. Is it good? No. This probably feels terrible in deck 1 when you're like, well, that's 4 cards of clean damage that just got milled. But is it hilarious? Absolutely. And are there times when you will trigger the salvage and your opponent mills 4 and you just win the game right there? That will definitely happen at some point. So, weird card, but a fun card. Next, we have a Dual Laners package. We have the level 1 Chisato. It gains 4k if you have 1 or fewer characters other than this in your front row at the start of your attack phase. If this is standing, and again, it's just that Dual Laners condition. Blindstock 1, look at the next card, and if it's a character, add it to your hand. The level 2 also gains 4k with 1 or fewer other characters in your front row, so it'll be 10k at the start of your attack phase. If this is standing, and again, Dual Laners condition, you just blind stock 3. So you're blind stocking 4 and potentially adding a card. That's the object. Alternatively, you could put 2 of one of these profiles in the back row and 1 in the front row because they all have the condition based on this translation. This translation could be completely wrong, but based on this translation, it says if you have 1 or fewer other characters in your front row, and that applies to all 3 of them. So if you have 2 in the back row and 1 in the front row, I think you can proc 3 of these abilities. So you could potentially blind stock 7 and look it up to 1, add 1, or you could blind stock 5, look it up to 1, add 1 twice. Anyway, potential for some really, really dumb plussing on this if this works the way that it's translated.
So it's a Dual Laners package, right? I think the most likely way you actually play this out is you probably have 2 copies of the level 1 in the front row when you do your Dual Laners, and then 2 copies of the level 2 at that point. Regardless, the ability to effectively dual lane and get resources as if you were playing a combo, I think the ability to then allow you to play something else in addition to this, I think it's really important here. To be able to play this and gain additional benefits off of a different combo as well, I think is the way to go with this. Speaking of combos that would pair with, we have the standby combo here. This 1/1 Chisato, if it has the standby in play, this also gains the standby trigger, so potentially makes us additional standby triggers in play. So you don't even have to have this on field to then you want to trigger this essentially when you're playing with the deck. You're able to get more standbys out, but this also has the ability if you have 3 more other characters, it gets 3k power. So it's very much going in kind of contrast to the Dual Laners because it wants more characters on field to make that happen, but this could be a potential combo you could pair along with that.
Yeah, like this is very much a go big or go home kind of a deck if we're going to play this with the Dual Laners package. Because, like you said, the normal way to play this is to have 2 copies of the level 1 in the front row and only proc their abilities. And then at level 2, you put 2 copies of the 2/1 in the front row and only proc their abilities. So, like, if you're doing that and you're swinging twice like a normal Dual Laners package will, then this allows you to potentially, especially if you're at 1, you can bring on the 2/1. If you're at 2, you could bring on your level 3 combo. That's how normal people would play it. Is that how you should play it? I will not cast judgment. However, I will cast judgment on this card because it rocks. Pay 3, pitch 2, CX combo. If you have the stock sold down, you can pay the cost, burn 3 twice. Heck yeah.
It is worth noting that it is only with the climax combo in play. Outside of that, it's a vanilla at the top. But I think we saw something like this with Arifureta as well, and that top end also seemed to have really good flexibility. This one has pretty high damage output, and I think that pretty high damage output, especially built up with the resources you have, resource generating engines, I think you could actually pull this off pretty effectively.
Yeah, there's a world in which you triple this because you just, like, spammed these Dual Laner things for 3 or 4 turns in a row. And that's a world I want to live in. That sounds like fun. Is it good? Probably not. Is it great? Absolutely. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back on Tuesday with a Deck Tech gameplay a week from today. And the next week, another Clock Talk talking about, I believe there's another tournament that will be between now and then. And then in 2 weeks, more 5 cards, 5 minutes for whatever set is next. Until then, thank you so much for joining us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And have a good one.
We'll see you then.